Welcome to the Russell Brown Show. In this project, which I'm going to be calling Blue Sky Thinking, we're going to take this dove, we're going to move it into this image until it looks like this. We're going to, of course, remove the black background and then add in this text and blend that text into our clouds. Now, in this project, I'm not going to just show you one technique for extracting the background from this fine photograph of this dove. I'm going to show you three. Yes, count them. 1, 2, 3. Let's get started. Let's go back here in time to our first moment of history here from my history palette. Then let's bring our image of our dove forward. Clicking on the dove with my move tool, holding down my shift key, I then drag the dove into our blue sky. Of course, the shift key will make sure that the dove is pin registered right in the middle of our target image. Now, here is the simplest of the three ways to remove the background. We, of course, go up here to our layers palette, and we're going to set the blending mode. Clicking on the word normal, I'm going to drop down to, of course, screen. I'm going to project the image of the dove onto the blue sky. Of course, if you project black pixels, they should be transparent and nothing should show through. However, the black behind this particular dove is not exactly black, because we can see down here, if I zoom in, that there is a change in color between these two sides. I would like to eliminate that. And one of the key features when blending images together, especially with the screen mode, is to run levels on your target image to help blend this in better. Now, I would like to do this non-destructively. I'm going to move over here to my layers palette. Holding down my Option or Alt key, I'm going to click here on Create New Fill or Adjustment Layer. Then I'm going to go up to Levels, just like this. I can now, of course, let go of the Option or Alt key. Of course, by holding down the Option or Alt key, I revealed the New Layer dialog box. I did this so I can check this box right here, Use Previous Layer to create clipping mask. In other words, by selecting this, I will only alter the shades of the immediate layer below this adjustment layer. If I click OK, you'll see here over in the Layers palette right here, the adjustment layer is tied directly to the image of the dove and only the dove, and will not affect the layers below it. This is good. So now we can go over here and select the black point, for example, here in the Levels dialog. Move this to the right, and a miracle has just happened. We've removed that edge. We no longer have that strong line running down our image because we've changed the values in the dove image to solid black. And if they're solid black, they're not going to project or screen anything onto our background. I also find it's really important to try adjusting the midpoint. Check this out. I can bring back some more contrast and detail into the interior of the dove by adjusting the midpoint right here. So adjust the black point and the midpoint for your best results when using the screen mode adjustment on an image. Let's click OK. So this was technique number 1. Let's save this down here in our history palette by clicking on this small icon to create new snapshot right there. Snap. We've got it. Because now we can go back to our original here again from the history palette, clicking on the original snapshot, and then let's try technique number 2. And of course, we'll compare them all when we're all done. Again, the shift key, drag, drop. Let's try this next technique. Now this one's a little bit more complex. This time I'm going to blend them together with the Layers Style dialog. The easiest way I find to open this up is to double click here in this blank blue space next to the word Layer 1. Right there. Here's our Layer Style dialog. Down here under Blend If, I'm going to leave this as gray, and I'm going to go down here to this first black point slider. Then I'm going to hold down the Option or Alt key because I want to split this slider into 2 pieces. By holding down the Option or Alt key, I can click and then drag this away, and I can start to separate the 2 points of the black point away from each other. the farther I move this away, the softer the masking that's taking place for the shades I've selected. Now in this case, I have not moved the first point, which represents black. I'm going to move this a little bit over to the right because there are some values of gray that I can eliminate. Now notice that. Do you see here's before, and then I move to the right? The dark area behind the dove vanishes. And then I can move the midpoint here, which isn't exactly the midpoint, it's actually the separated black point. And in fact, by moving these and adjusting them, it's very similar to what I was doing with the levels adjustment on our previous technique. Again, the black point will get rid of that black area behind it, and the midpoint can give us more contrast inside of the dove. Just like that. So that was technique number 2. Let's click OK. Then let's go back down to the history palette and record this as snapshot number 2, just like that. Now let's do technique number 3, yet more complex still. Going back to my original, dragging my image in. Let's try this technique. Now in this technique, I'm going to actually eliminate the black pixels completely. In the other 2 techniques, the black pixels are still there, they're just invisible. In this technique, I want to strip them away because there are certain situations where you may need to strip the pixels away if you have a complex layered document. Let's give this a try. With layer number 1 targeted, my dove layer, I'm going up to Filter and down to Extract. Right there. In the Extract dialog, I'm going to use a technique that you may not have used before. I'm going to go over here and select Force Foreground Color. Right there. What this does is it searches for this color that you've selected right here, and then will force all of those colors into your document and eliminate all the other colors. And in this case, I want to eliminate black. So I need to target a color inside the dove, and then all of the colors lighter than that color will be saved. Let me demonstrate. I'm going to select my eyedropper tool here from the tool palette inside of the Extract tool, then move in, and I want to target a fairly dark color because remember, it's going to target and save all those colors lighter than the target color. So I'm going to first target this color right here by clicking on this spot. Notice that the color appears over here next to the word Force Foreground. Now I'm going to go over here and I need to identify those colors that are part of my foreground. With the Edge Highlighter tool here in the upper left hand corner, I'm going to click and move over the image. Now notice I'm doing this in sort of a quick fashion because I don't need to be very accurate. I just want to define the colors that I want to save. Now notice I'm not drawing a line around the image in any way. I need to cover up the entire image. In this process, we're not going to use the bucket tool to fill in the inner area. We're going to simply and easily paint over the image just like this. We're going to identify those areas that we need to save. Now make sure that you get every bit of the dove in this particular project, and there are no gaps inside this green area right here, because if there are, you'll have trouble. Remember, there is no need for the bucket tool with this process because we're going to force all the colors that we've selected, which are lighter than this color here, and black will be eliminated. We're going to select Preview right over here, and we should now see our dove. Now, our goal is to get as much of the dove as possible without introducing too many black pixels around the edge. So I'm going to go back in here with my eyedropper tool, and I'm going to select in some of these areas which are a little bit darker, like here in the forehead of the dove was a bit darker, and select Preview. Let's see what happens this time. Now that brought in too many shades, in fact too many dark shades around the edges of the wings. That's not what I'm looking for, so I'm going to back off a little bit here and choose a value that's a little bit lighter and Preview again. Again, did you notice I'm clicking with the eyedropper tool and then selecting Preview each time to see which values I can get. So now it thinks for a while, and there it is. It's a little bit lighter, but I think I want to go lighter still. So again, I'm going to target a value and hit preview again. Remember, it's selecting all those values lighter. Let's try this. There are a lot of little gaps and holes here in the dove, but let's see what this is going to look like. I'm going to click OK. So now here is the extracted dove on the background. It's not so bad. It actually looks pretty good, even though we had some holes showing through our dove. But we still have the soft edges around the wings, and that's what we were looking for. That looks great. Let's save this as our third technique down here in our history palette. Then let's review these. Of course, this technique, we used the extract tool. In snapshot number 2, we went in and used the layer styles to eliminate the background colors. And of course, in snapshot number 3, we went in, we set the mode for the targeted layer of the dove at screen. Then we used a levels adjustment layer to eliminate some of the background black. This one looks like our best results of all of them for this particular project. Finally, let's bring in our text like this. We can see that the feathers are blending in to the text because, of course, that layer is set to screen. But we may want to have one little final touch of the word sky drifting into the clouds. We're going to target the text layer here. Then I'm going to add a layer mask here, down here at the base of the layers palette by clicking on this icon. And of course, with the layer mask, we can go into the brush tool and we can just brush in, and we can then give the illusion that the clouds are moving in around this text just with a few clicks with the black paintbrush. And of course, you can see my opacity is set to 51%, so I'm blending this in slowly. So there you have it, our finished project. You can choose any one of these techniques to solve your particular problem. And keep in mind, you can use these same techniques when blending fireworks or flames into images. Give these techniques a try the next time you're trying to blend images together simply and easily.